mystery and horror, the air itself is filled with monsters.
Children of the night, what music they make. He's alive! He's alive!
I'm Sammy Bryce, and I have rented the house on Haunted Hill tonight, so my podcasting partner Dan can give you a party. She is so amusing. There'll be food, drink, and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited. If any of you will spend the next few hours with us, I'll give you a Monsters Up North sticker, or your kin in case you don't survive. Da, da, da. Welcome, all you monster fiends, and thank you for joining us for another deep dive factoid-filled episode exploring Hollywood's most famous monsters. I am your mistress of ceremonies, Sam, and I am joined, as always, by Dan from Bleeding Marvelous. Say hello, Dan.
All right.
All right.
What?
What do you think of that little ditty?
I feel like I should have cut my head off and it should be just bobbing around.
Floating around everywhere.
Floating head.
It was the shortened version, because apparently it's a bit longer.
It's a lot longer, the one that,
Yeah. I thought, no, I'm not reading that. I'm not reading that out. We'll be here all night. And that's the end.
And goodbye. Bye, Dan.
Bye, Dan. Wow, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Monsters Up North podcast. Tonight, we're getting all haunted. We're getting all spooky with House on Haunted Hill.
Ooh.
So tonight we're going to be covering the 1959 and 1999 version. Not to be mistaken, as I clearly did when doing my research, with Haunting of Hill House, the Shelley Jackson book.
Yes.
Yeah. Completely different story.
Yeah.
I'll do the disclaimer and then we'll crack on open the house on Haunted Hill. Look at this man. Right. I forgot what I was doing there. So, everything discussed in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us on our Facebook pages, the Discord, or the comments section, where we can have an open discussion. But what we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom. So, let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behavior out of nerdism.
And we all know together, don't be a dick.
What she said. It's a short and sweet version. I like it. Told you, I want to get it all printed on the front and then the back. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah. you, mister.
Just
lady. Don't.
If it like me really cut my accent comes out, just don't do it.
Well, we all know my buddy. my northeast accent is shockingly shit, so I shall not be gracing your ears with that thing.
I can't remember when you did it before.
I can only say latte and that's it.
Latte. Water. There you go. You say water. See? Geordie slang.
Yeah.
Coming to you every week. Monsters Up North.
See? Yeah.
Well, so, the 1959 and 1989 American horror film, the original, directed by absolutely batshit crazy William Castle, starring Vincent Price and Jeffrey Rush, respectively. Guests are invited to the house for a haunted house party. Whoever stays in the house for one night will earn $10,000. The doors lock at midnight as Monsters Up North brings you House on Haunted Hill.
Well, the $10,000 reward money for making it through the night equates, by today's money, from 1959 to now, is $107,700 per person.
Oh, that's dear.
That's 1959 to 2024. So that's what each ticket in the 1959 one is worth by today's standards.
That is crazy.
Yeah, well, the remake,
No, yeah, that was a lot
it's
more.
$1 million per person, and that worked out by today's money. Bear in mind that was only 1999, but by today's money, it is 1.88 million for us. That's a nearly 2 million.
I see. If it's Vincent Price asking us to stay, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
If it's Jeffrey Rush, you can get fucked with that house. Not a chance.
Two totally different films with a very similar. Oh, the thread is similar, shall we say? I don't know how else to.
Yeah,
It's like a thing.
Yeah, well, it is. The concept is there. The execution is incredibly different.
Yeah.
The original is you got to understand William Castle to understand the movie.
Well,
because
can you actually understand about him? Because he was, as we well know, batshit crazy.
He's batshit crazy. The king of gimmicks.
Yeah.
And this movie is no different from any other movie that he's done because it's all centered around a gimmick. If the gimmick's not there, the movie's not there.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I can't even start. We're going to have to start with William Castle to explain his gimmicky sides because he's a master of them.
Yeah.
Well known for them. I shocked Anth with this little bit of trivia that is his movies, obviously House on Haunted Hill, The Tingler, which again stars Vincent Price, and 13 Ghosts.
Yeah.
And Anth was like, what? The 90s 13? I was, no, mate. No. The original 13 Ghosts. And every single one of them came with its own little gimmick.
Yeah.
The House on Haunted Hill, so it even starts, the opening of the movie of the original one starts in pitch black. And all you can hear is all these ghouly noises and screaming and scratching. And then, what's his face comes on the screen. Can't think of what his name is off the top of my head. Didn't think to write it down.
The guy who owns it, William
Pritchard.
Yeah.
William Pritchard. He comes onto the main screen and tells you about the house, which I always thought was a bit odd. But hey,
kind of sets the scene, isn't he?
It does, yeah, it does. But the whole beginning bit with the pitch black it's just in his head. It's how theatre goers are gonna see it. That is the first thing they are going to see and hear before you see William Pritchard's head. Is it William or is it Watson?
I think it's William.
William? We'll go with William. I'll go with it. But then you see his head, and that absolutely terrified audiences. And that's what William Castle was going for. Especially when he used the is it the Imago?
Emigo, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Technique, which is
Watson Pritchard.
Watson. That's right. With a skeleton going over the top of the audience. Mm-hmm. That's what he did for House on Haunted Hill. What he did for the Tingler just blows me away. There's a line in it where Vincent Price goes, "Scream, you're gonna scream," and as he finishes his line, electric buzzers went off in the chairs of the audiences, and they screamed. This is the kind of guy that William Castle was. On 13 Ghosts, this is the most impressive one. I like the buzzers in the chair, but 13 Ghosts, he had glasses that if you wanted to see the ghosts, you had to use the red glasses. But if you wanted the ghosts to disappear, you had to use the blue glasses.
That's insane, isn't it?
And that's in 1960.
Yeah.
Every movie of his was a gimmick. And the starting point with House on Haunted Hill is just, it's just fantastic. It's one of the most basic stories of all time. There's nothing too over elaborated with it.
No, it's about a couple that really just hate
each other.
And that's it. It's just two people being vindictive towards each other that ends up climaxing in in both movies the way they do. So,
well, the idea is that Vincent Price's character has thrown a party for his wife. Now, I can't remember if she originally wrote the list out herself, because I know that's what happens in the 1999 one, so I don't know if I am mixing the two.
yes.
But he comes up with his own guest list of people who he knows would be desperate for the money.
Yeah. And he threw it away. He says to Annabelle, "Oh, your list was worthless. I thought these people, I find it more amusing if these people came, because these people will do anything for that money because they need the money."
And that's the kind of main thing between the two movies itself, is that the people who were invited are supposedly desperate. But no, that's not the case, because it's not. It's the house. Oh, fuck's sake, man. We'll stick with the original to start with, because it's the house that creates the list. Isn't that right? Because they're all descendants.
In the second one, in the remake, kind of, I think it was the doctor. But you never see who actually did it. You just see a shadow. Now, why would there have to be a shadow in his office? It doesn't make any sense. So I feel like someone changed it. And if I can't remember, if they did say who it was, I don't remember them saying it. But someone changed the list. But yeah.
Well, it was Vincent Price's character who created the list for his party. Because, like I say, it's people. He needed a man there who would be able to tell people that Nora was the one who was hysterical. You remember, he had the hysteria doctor in, so it's like, oh, she's hysterical, don't trust what she's saying.
All the time. It was like every time she even went, hysteria, that woman, terrible,
she has hysteria, I'm diagnosing it now. So, but the whole premise is that Vincent Price and his wife absolutely fucking hate each other, and what they both don't know is they're both trying to kill each other
in a house that they're throwing a birthday party for the wife.
It's all a way to get away with murder. In a house that's haunted, because the guy Watson Pritchard is genuinely concerned, and Nora is really seeing ghosts. She's the only one who does.
See, this is the thing with the first one. It was left so open with respects to whether it was a ghost or not. The lady with the funny old ghost lady, as I called her to you. It just made me burst out laughing when I saw her, and she stood there next to her in the dark doing the Disney witch, from Snow White. I was like,
I love her.
Is she a ghost? Is she real? I'm confused. And then I was like, did they clarify whether she was a ghost or not?
Yeah, because you don't hear or see or anything. I assume she's a ghost. She looked ghostly.
She's got a name. Her name was like Mrs. something, wasn't it?
I mean, he did say he worked for the house, so like,
Mrs.
and I'm sure
he
might have dropped names that I wasn't picking up on. This Watson Pritchard guy, but yeah, it's just a ploy for murder. She is in a relationship with one of the party guests, which I believe that he knew about,
which is the doctor.
The doctor, the hysteria doctor. And she kills him and supposedly puts him in a vat of acid.
Right. There's a bit at the beginning which ties them both in with the guns in the boxes.
Yeah.
And then she's at one point, she fakes her death.
Yeah. She does. She does it to Nora, the hysteria lady. Because she wears the fake corset.
Yeah.
To harness herself up. She fakes her death. Nora, that's it. She fakes her death. Nora thinks that she's killed Vincent Price, and then wifey comes out back from the dead, and Vincent Price does end up killing her and shoving her in a vat of acid. I only watched this the other night.
Falling like he's
she does.
Well, I'm
ridiculous.
not sure what to call that.
She does the whole hands to her face and screaming as she's walking backwards. And Vincent Price didn't really need to do much because she did it all herself. But he used a skeleton to scare her.
That rig is hilarious when he walks out on the end with that great big freaking thing.
It's even funnier in colour. It's absolutely hilarious in colour. I love this film, and it's been a very long time since I've seen it. And I totally forgot it's in the public domain and on YouTube, and I could have just watched the black and white version like I've seen a million times before. But no, I went on Prime and watched it in colour, which I was saying it down before we came on, was a fucking horrific job of colour. There was parts where certain characters were grey, and I'm like, could you not have coloured their face in?
Yeah, they gave up.
They really did. There's like parts of it where it's just like, oh, we'll just leave that corner out. It doesn't matter. They're not going to notice that. But yeah, I watched it in colour, and Anth was watching it with us, and he went, "You can see the strings on that, aren't you meant?" That's the idea, you're meant to. Because to be honest, it's meant to be slightly a bit of a comedy.
Yeah, because William Castle didn't want serious, but it was, for me, it's kind of like I don't know whether it would be classed as like a thriller more than a horror.
Yeah, I'd say thriller.
In respect of that, there's no actual murder.
No, it's all kind of accidents.
Yeah,
and unfortunate step backs into a vat of acid.
Yeah, just a series of unfortunate events and lots of people walking through doors.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think the horror element obviously comes from Vincent Price himself, but I'm reading a book about him at the moment, and in his own words, he always saw himself as a comedy actor. So, and it really actually it makes me think of all of the performances I've seen of him and go, oh my God, he played everything like it was a comedy film. So that's why he's so good at hamming it up.
Yeah.
When it comes to his, apart from Witchfinder General, I love him. All my heart. But that film is fucking hard work. It's so hard work. Like, even if I can just go back and watch it and think, yes, Vincent, you are a comedic actor, I still can't get away with anything else that's going on in that movie. Have you ever seen it?
Is that the one that's like the Carry On movie? That's so like it's kind of like a Carry On film.
It's meant to be fucking serious about this Witchfinder General.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's terrible. It's not good. Not even Vincent can save that film. But other people might love it, and I'm not here to shit on him because I love the man so much. But yeah, he always saw himself as a comedic actor, and I can kind of see, like, now the hamming up, it does all make sense, and it certainly plays out in this one. Did you know the skeleton that comes out from the vat of acid, the head, is real? Yeah.
What? No.
It's actually cheaper and quicker to buy real bone than it is to create it back then. And I still think that's probably true in some senses. But yeah, the head's real.
Nice.
Real life head person coming out there. I don't think the body is, because I think they needed to make maneuvers out of it, and real bone's not going to be able to take the maneuvers. But yeah, the head.
Nice.
This movie has a body count as well.
I suppose it does, yeah.
2.
Yeah, not overly impressive, but enough. Yeah.
Yeah, 2. Shot in 14 days.
Really?
Yeah. It's not the longest of films.
It's an hour and 15, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really not the longest of films. Anth came in when I was watching. He went, "Oh, you're nearly done." I went, "Yes." Because it's not long at all. And the skeleton himself, as you well pointed out to me the other night, is actually listed as playing himself.
Yes. I'm more curious as to who did it. Was it an idea from the Castles to do that? Like,
it must have been.
Because when you actually click on his IMDb page, it just says skeleton is known for House on Haunted Hill, 1959, and Cinemortal. And when you actually look, they've put him in Scary Movie 2. They've put him in Army of Darkness, Beetlejuice. You want to see his, like, he's got kind of a Jason and the Argonauts. They've literally just put him in House. So people are tagging the skeleton as a full crew member now, in like cast and crew member on IMDb. So he's been a busy boy.
See, that's brilliant. Like that is I think that's William Castle's goal, really, is to
Yeah.
have the gimmick go on for as long as it has done. The cast in this movie it's good.
Yeah.
I can't remember the lady who played Evelyn, but she was absolutely fantastic. Her tete-a-tete between her and Vincent was just mwah.
Carol Omar.
That's it. I was reading about her the other night. She's not a well-known actress. She didn't do a lot. Kind of I don't want to say fell into obscurity. She probably just fell out of movies. But she was an actress who, when she actually passed away, and I think natural causes or something, but it wasn't announced for like years later. And I was like, oh, that's a bit sad.
Yeah.
Poor thing. But then obviously you've got the brilliant Vincent Price.
Ooh.
Who just every scene he's in. Actually, there was a moment in it when he pulls a hair. Shit. That was seriously sinister.
I think they were trying to show how much they hated each other, though. And to get it across, that it's like they flirt with violence, but it's never gone any further with that.
Yeah.
You know, it's been more acts of intention, like when he says to her, do you remember that time you tried to poison me? Wasn't that hilarious? You know, they're making light of it, and she's going, oh, if only if that had worked. I don't know what you mean. You know, if something had fallen into your drink that had nothing, nothing to do with me, kind of thing. And they've been very blasé about the attempts on each other's lives at that point. And it was like, okay, so this is where we are we? Is this, we're in the middle of this couple's complete meltdown, or their complete lack of like relationship, and we're in the middle of their nonsense, basically.
Exactly. To be honest with you, the cast members, apart from Hysteria Doctor and Evelyn, and I can't remember what Vincent Price's name is.
It's in this, it is Frederick Lauren, and she's Annabelle Lauren in this one.
Annabelle, I've been calling it Evelyn.
Yeah,
sorry,
the remake.
Damn it. And I had that on today in the background to try and get my head around it all. Yeah, the rest of the cast don't really the guy who plays Watson Pritchard is kind of a bit of a fussy pants, not as good as the Watson Pritchard who is in the remake, who is the only person who carries the only name from the original.
Yes.
So no other original name apart from his. Who, when I'm looking at his face, I'm going, who are you? Why do I know you? And then I came to his Night at the Roxbury.
You watch a lot of SNL. He's cute. He used to be on SNL.
Yep.
But yeah, there was Julie Mitchum, who was the reporter lady in this one. She's Robert Mitchum's older sister, the actor Robert Mitchum, who was famous for, he's done like Cape Fear, Scrooged, and like hundreds of 50s and 60s and 70s movies. But yeah, she was his older sister.
Hey, well, there is a family connection between this one and that one. The producer of the 1999 one is the daughter, niece,
A son. William Castle's son, Terry.
I thought it was spelled with an I, so it's daughter. I've got it written down.
Oh, I've got it. Oh, okay.
Well, actually, I could have just taken daughter and pulled it out my arse, because I just saw Terry with an I and thought daughter. Oh, that was a bit bad of us. But yeah, it's son, child. There we go. The child of William Castle is the producer of the remake. So it does have a bit of a family connection.
The Doctor, it's a bit of a sad story about the guy who played the Doctor, Alan Marshall. He was born in Australia and he moved to America to get like his acting chops on, as you do.
Oh, I know this story.
Yeah, and he was mainly predominantly a theatre actor, as are most of them. Theatre, darling.
Theatre.
And he was in the middle of performing a show in 1961 called The Sextet with Mae
West. Yeah, well, Mae West, who come up and see me sometime.
They were in the middle of a show, and he had a heart attack lying on stage and died. there and then
Yeah,
in
I heard that.
1961. So it was literally 2 years after that movie was made. At the age of 52, he was gone. So
That's so sad. Don't get us wrong, nobody in this movie was a bum note. It's just when you've got the likes of Vincent Price there, you're
it's
kind of
not-
put in the shadows just by him alone.
yeah. I mean that there is one bit in it that I absolutely love, but I'll talk about that in a bit. In 1959, the house that they used is the Frank Lloyd Wright building. He's a very, very famous architect, if you don't know who he is. And he was responsible for this building in 1924, and his Art Deco style is huge. The one you see in the remake is actually an imaginary building that was painted on matte paint, you know, when they use the matte paintings. If you don't know what that is, I highly suggest you go and research matte paintings, because it's nearly been in every movie you've ever seen, especially Star Wars. They were massive. The original Star Wars is for using the matte paintings for the scenery. Basically, what it is it's forced perspective. It's someone who comes in, paints a scene, and then they put the film cells in front of it and play the movie over the top of it. So it looks like you've got a fantastical background or a house, and for that to be still being used in 99, the matte painting thing was a big deal. So you don't really notice it because they cover it really, really well with the grainy footage that they try and use, like the way that they show it in the 99 one. There's angles that they show it, and it's very, very clever.
It's beautiful, that scene it's very standout. So when you look at the house on the original, it's like, it's a house.
It's
a house. But when you look at the one in 1999, wow, that is a house.
I mean,
and it's beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it does make you think asylum or power station.
Instantly.
It's gone.
Instantly asylum.
Yeah.
Like, I am there. I'm like, fuck, let's be locked up in that. One thing I forgot to mention about William Castle, which fucking blew my mind. Did you know he was the producer of an incredibly famous horror movie, Rosemary's Baby?
Really?
Really?
Wow, Roman Polanski.
Yeah, and that's in 1968.
Yeah. It was Mia Farrow, wasn't it?
Yeah. What have you done to him? What have you done to his eyes?
What did she do to her hair? That's what I want.
Vidal Sassoon did that to her hair, pet.
Oh.
Hey, that was the height of fashion then, man.
I know.
She's really fucking annoying. She's really fucking annoying in that film. Like, really, like, to
the going on in that one.
It's the borderline. You just, like, let the Satanists win. They are really, really nice people. Like, look at them. Look at your grandma. That's what I loved about Rosemary's Baby, is all the Satanists look like unpredictable nanas and granddads, ultra well-to-do people. But it's one of my favorite scenes in Ghost World, where Enid's sitting in the cafe and she's looking across the table and she's drawing the Satanists, and they are just so unexpected. Like, and then they stand up and they go outside and they put their parasol up, and it's this black gothic parasol, and I'm like, oh, I love it. But I love the ones in Rosemary's Baby. I do generally really like that film, apart from Mia Farrow completely chowing the scenery at the end. But yeah, William Castle was a producer on that movie.
I mean, I know this had a relatively large budget, this movie.
Yeah.
As well, because, I mean, bearing in mind, William Castle, I think this was one of his, not necessarily his first movie, but one of his first, wasn't it?
His credits are like as long as my arm, and I am fucking tall.
One of his first, I mean, his successful first.
So, yeah, this is like his known work.
Yeah, and the budget for this was in 1959. It was 200,000, which equates to 2.1 million to make the movie. In 1959, the equivalent of 2.1 million to make this movie. And they have a skeleton, and that's about, and lots of doors.
Just realised what I've said.
I mean, I'm not really sure where the money went on this one, but
yeah. I dare say it probably had to do with the marketing.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a lot. Yeah,
honestly, because there's no costume changing. It's all one night. Like I said, shot in 14 days.
Yeah,
not a lot of set,
no.
apart from a vat of
water.
What was it? Acid.
It was supposed to be acid.
Fuck has a vat of acid in their basement.
They did. Yeah, they did for sure.
It wasn't just a small one either. It wasn't just like a tub.
No, this was the entire underground
of acid. Whoa, hey. So yeah, it probably went on the marketing because like I was reading an interview with Steven Tyler, who described his experience going to see this in the cinema, and he was like, it's the first time like we had that kind of interaction. Like it felt like he really wanted us to be involved with the movie. And if you do watch the opening part of it, and if you do what I did and watch it with did I have no lights on? Yeah, I did. Watch it with no lights. It is pretty fucking like, ooh.
Yeah, it's the noises, isn't it, in the background?
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
The box office, it took in 1959 2.5 million at the box office. So that is the equivalent of 26.9 million by today's standards at the box office in 1959. So the gimmick paid off.
Oh, massively.
That 2 million in, the 200,000 injection.
Yeah.
Came away with a 2.5 million in 1959 money.
To other filmmakers, he was looked as a bit of a joke.
To make 24 million by today's standards, that's nothing to be spat on. That is crazy.
And look who's laughing now.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. I can't, when you start looking into the numbers and you're just like, wow, really? And such a change from 99 to now as well.
Yeah.
The 99 movie, we had a budget of 19 million, right? You know that was for the special effects work.
Oh, fuck yeah, was it?
But that equates to, and this is where my brain goes, well, 99 weren't that far away, but it was far enough.
It really was that far away. I left school that year.
So 19 million in 99 is the equivalent to 35.7 million in today's money. Inflation it's insane in 25 years. But at the box office, it took 43 million in 99 money, but 80.9 million in today's money.
Now that is a lot of bones.
80.9 million for the remake, and it was considered a flop.
Oh, it's such a movie of its time. When you watch the fact that Marilyn Manson is your opening fucking soundtrack to it, you're like, oh my God, I am transported back to the 90s. I know where I'm at with that movie. Like, don't get us wrong. I love old movies, and I'll never be able to place myself within their time period. So I could just have to be able to appreciate for what I'm watching. And when you're watching something from the 90s, heading into the early 2000s, you're like, oh, fuck, I was there. Like, and I can feel it from this movie. I don't know if it probably is. It's not a coincidence. It's obviously worked very well from the studio. This same studio who does House on Haunted Hill in the 90s is the same studio who goes and does the remake of 13 Ghosts, both directed by William Castle.
Yeah, the Dark Castle Entertainment, isn't it?
Yes. And I thought, and obviously you've got Terry.
Yeah.
Terry with an I, who is the producer on, I think, do I say both of them? Because I have wrote remakes. So
I think so on both.
But yeah, I just thought that was a lovely kind of like full circle moment. We're not only going to remake one of your movies, Mr. Castle, we're going to do two of them.
Yeah. And two of them have become cult movies, more so 13 Ghosts than this one. But this one still is one of those movies that is so far removed from the original, but still works under the same umbrella. Yeah. It's a lot. But going back to the 59 one, did you know there is a line in it that Vincent Price says that he uses elsewhere and is one of his most famous opening lines?
Yes.
I'll let you say it.
Oh my God, we might be here a while. Yes, I do know what it is. It's... Oh, fuck. No, go on.
It's close to midnight, Lance.
Oh, for fuck's sake, yes, that's it.
Yep, yes. Mr. Vincent Price uses the opening line well, he used that was part of the script. It's close to midnight, Lance, and one of his most famous lines from the thriller monologue that he done, and he recorded, bear in mind, in one take, and he did it as a favor to Michael Jackson because Michael loves Vincent Price, loved him with a passion. He couldn't get enough of his movies. Knew he was in the studio next door recording something to do with some sound for one of the movies he was working on. Knocked on the door. Hello, Mr. Price. Will you please come in? And would you want to be on my record? And Vincent went, why not? Come in, one take, boom, done, out.
It's the most iconic bit of talking in music history. Is that and just done in one take. Do you know, and I know I don't want to get too much into Vincent because I do want to do a whole episode dedicated to the work and life of that fucking brilliant man, because he's not just an actor. He's not an artist either, as he describes in his book. He is shit. But he is an art collector. He was an art curator. He worked for Selfridges. And it was an absolute passion of his. He was also a cook as well. He brought many cookbooks out.
Because his granddad invented some form of baking powder, and he was some sort of air situation.
Oh, yeah.
From Missouri. He was in
Missouri, yeah. Vincent comes from a really well-to-do background, but it was never a case of it wasn't thrown about willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Put it that way. He wasn't a spoiled brat by any means, but he did get a better life than most in them times. But the funniest story I heard was he talked about the baking powder.
Yeah.
And that's on his dad's side. So his mum was like, well, we have one of the first ever settlements part of our family, this Frenchman who came in and made settlement and and Vincent went, that is not true. Never happened. She just likes to put her mark on the fact that we have the whole baking powder history and all that. She had nothing, so she created this thing where she said we were descendants from Pierre Milk or something like that.
One woman's, just to be relevant, she just wanted to be in on it.
Did you know you could actually, in one of his cookbooks, it teaches you how to cook a chicken in a washing machine?
Of course, because why not?
And Elvira Cassandra Peterson, who was obviously a very dear friend of his, more towards the end of his life, because obviously the end of his life is the beginning of Cassandra and her beginning, and Cassandra tried it, and it worked. She cooked a full chicken in a washing machine, and it's in one of his cookbooks.
Whilst it makes perfect sense that it would be easy enough to do, it still feels like it's wrong in every way.
In every sense of the way. Every sense of the way.
I've got a question for you then about the 1959 one.
Okay.
At the beginning, it states that this is his fourth wife.
Yes.
Do you think he killed off his previous three, or did something similar that he did to Annabelle, to his previous three wives?
He's a businessman. And he's a smart businessman because obviously he's got millions to be thrown about.
Millions.
Absolutely millions. I don't think he is capable of being able to straight up murder someone. I think it has to come down to being an accident, because the way he kind of he didn't push her, but he walked her into it. I feel like he may have knocked a ladder and one of them fell off a roof, or, slipped on a banana peel. Do you know what I mean?
Like she was trying to get the hysterical woman to shoot him or to kill him.
Yeah.
And so they were both working the same angle, just in different
aspects. And obviously the doctor's there to verify, oh my God, this woman is hysterical. Because obviously he's a hysteria doctor.
Yeah. We all know what they used to do with women that were hysterical.
Yeah. And they would have and Pooh and Nora would have just been committed and never heard of again. That she was pregnant when she filmed this.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot to put through.
Full on baby in the oven. And she didn't tell anyone. Obviously she was terrified of losing her job. But yeah, full on baby in the oven. But Vincent is an absolute treasure in this. I learned about his death the other day, and I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't. It's not gruesome by any means. It's just, do you know when someone, we had someone on Ant's family who was just a clean powerhouse, like in his 80s, like an absolute powerhouse. Like he was so independent, he was so strong, he looked strong, and then all of a sudden, overnight, just no. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened with Vincent. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's, something else, and then he eventually dies of lung cancer, and it's like, oh my god, just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And the spooky thing is, we're recording this a few days after his heavenly birthday.
27th of May, if I'm right.
Yeah. I think 28th or 27th, because it's Peter Cushing is the day before and Christopher Lee and him are the same day.
I think it's the 27th of May.
Oh, well, got anyone here to argue with us, so.
No, I'm pretty sure it is. I've got it in my head, so.
But yeah, 112? I think I was 112.
Wow, really?
I think.
Jesus Christ.
Been dead a long time.
Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah. I can't believe you got that line out.
I tried my best. Right. Well, what would you say your opinion is of the whole first movie then?
I love it. Personally, I love it. The story, if you're looking at it just as it's a good spooky story.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's not suspenseful. Even back in 1915, it had to have gimmicks to make it suspenseful. Suspenseful. Put my teeth in. So it had to have gimmicks in order to do that. But from an acting perspective, from a storytelling perspective, even just the house itself is actually beautiful inside when you're walking around. Even that basement. How clean was that basement?
Yeah. So the acid.
Fuck all in it. It's just it's a short, sweet. It feels like you're reading an Edgar Allan Poe poem. You get into it, and then it's over.
Yeah,
I feel like that's where I am with that one. What about you?
I feel like back in 1959, I'm jaded. This is my problem. I've watched so much in the world of movies. For me, I have to put myself in the point of view of in 1959, which I can't relate to because obviously I wasn't alive then.
No.
But 21 years before I was born, would this have been shocking? Would a woman pretending to hang herself be shocking? Would a guy trying to knock his wife off into the water, into the acid, be shocking? Would them setting up this woman to become hysterical enough to be able to shoot him be shocking? Yes, all of that would be, because they're framing the woman to do the killing, which is something that wasn't really, whilst there was no female serial killers at that point, and I'm talking about real life, there was no big cases of women murdering. There was a few, but it wasn't something you saw them set up to do, the woman being the reason why Vincent Price was going to get killed, and the fact that there was the little twist where she wasn't really dead and then she was having the affair with the doctor. It was like scandal and salaciousness, and so you had a bit of everything. There was like a romance, there was a whodunit, there was a like a thriller section, and I can see why they thought it was a horror, because in the original poster he's just holding a decapitated head. Yeah, it's the poster itself is fucking gruesome. But it's got sod all to do with the movie. I'm like, I don't remember him ever coming anywhere near. Well, there was the head in the box though, wasn't there? Or am I thinking, with the? No, it was a ghost. Out. Yeah. So, but that wasn't the head he was holding in the picture. No, it was hers. Yes. But yeah. She wouldn't have had a head if she completely evaporated into the ghost skeleton water acid lady bath thing. Thank God we never got to see her afterwards, because she just went right in and she never came back out again. The thing is, if this was even for 1959, look at it this way. In 1968, Rosemary's Baby comes out. Yeah. That's where you're at with horror.
And
so
that's
got
not
another
that
9 years. Yeah.
but that's not that far in the future.
Mm.
If this was brought out in the 1930s,
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be a whole different kettle of fish. There would have been it would have been probably more spookier.
Mm.
But it's coming into a new era where they are being a little bit more loosey goosey with their movies.
Yeah, I mean, there is that fine line. Like, I think one of the only other movies, other than this original version, that pulls off the fine balance of comedy and horror at the same time is the Scream franchise, the early Scream. Like, Scream 1 pulls off the perfect balance of humor and horror. I feel like this was a setup for directors and writers to be able to get there.
Yeah.
William Castle took the because there's a scene in Scream, I want to say Scream 2, where Jada Pinkett Smith gets it at the beginning, where they're in the cinema and then they have all the ghost face things.
Yeah.
Like the William Castle setup
Mm-hmm.
for the movie. So I feel like it's a trope that has been well respected, clearly, if they've been using it in those movies. So for me, there's a commonality. You can see that it had a mark. It left some sort of indelible stain on horror, enough for it to be used. And I don't think it would have been as much of a hit had Vincent have not been in it, because Vincent led that cast massively.
Honest, I'm not joking when I say the cast is good. Yeah. It's never going to be great because of him. He overpowers every scene he is in. That man is very tall.
Yes.
But it's not just his height that's a presence, it's himself. It is the whole package. And these people do not stand a chance. Nora gives it a good try, mind.
Yeah, she got my nerves though. Too much crying and screaming and running. I'm just like, love, come on. Okay.
Oh, I love in older movies when they do that. And it's Phantom of the Opera, isn't it? When she pulls the mask off and she does
and the birds as well, like Hedron and
it's the hands. Hands, darling.
Hands, darling. So if we're going to move on to the 1999 version.
Oh, hey, strap yourselves in, because I'm going to ask a lot of questions.
This is where I live, right? Sammy lives in the 59. I live in the 99.
I live in the old times.
I appreciate the 59, because I know we wouldn't have the 99 if it wasn't for that. But this is a totally different type of movie, and this is more up my street when it comes to horror as a tradition than it is trying to include every single genre in one movie. This one just sticks to its lane, so to speak. So
massively. Can I give you one more fact before we literally move on? It's literally just one more fact, and I find it very interesting. Do you know who was inspired heavily by the original, to where he brought out probably one of the original slasher movie out?
Toe Pooper?
Mr. Hitchcock.
Yes, actually, I read something about that.
Yes, Psycho.
Yeah.
Because of it's technically classed as low budget. Yeah. Because like we talked about earlier, the majority of the money probably went into marketing more than it went into the film.
Yeah.
That Hitchcock was so inspired by Castle's way of being able to engage with the audience, because essentially that is what Psycho does, especially the shower scene. The shower scene alone is almost an audience. He's waiting for the reaction,
because you're seeing it. Your POV of Norman, aren't you? To a degree.
Yeah, to a degree, But you are watching it all play out while she has no idea. So it's all about the audience participation. How are the audience reacting? When are the audience going to scream? And he took huge inspiration from Castle when making Psycho, and it is especially King of Gimmicks and the King of Scare.
Yeah.
So it kind of it does work, but yeah, Psycho was the inspiration came from. I mean, there was apparently, if you go and watch other movies associated with Alfred Hitchcock or read other things, the likelihood is there was probably something else that inspired him. He was always going to make this movie. Always going to make this movie. He really was. But yeah, that's what I did read about. But the 1999 one is just okay.
All I've got in my head is it's going down the train. I've got to stop listening. You've been a bad influence on me.
So Marilyn Manson, I mentioned earlier, is one of the opening songs. Sweet dreams are made of these.
Separate out from the person, people, because we're not having people come at us for talking about Marilyn Manson.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's
just
art from the person. We're
separate.
not talking Gary Glitter here, right? We're talking about Marilyn Manson.
He was actually considered for the role of Dr. Vonnegut.
He was, and I'm glad they didn't go with him because I think Jeffrey Combs will always play the crazy doctor with such chef's kiss. The man knows how to pull off insanity.
Yeah. Don't get us wrong. Manson did Party Monster with Macaulay Culkin and Seth Green. He played Christina. And he wasn't too bad. I'm just going to put that out there.
Can I also reiterate, he isn't the kid from the Wonder Years, all right? Because when I was a kid growing up, there was this massive rumor. He was Fred's best friend with glasses, and it was like, that's Marilyn Manson. And for years and years, and it was like, it really wasn't.
It's really not. Even like I want to be the person who started that rumor. I want to meet the person who started that rumor because it went everywhere. Yeah.
It's a hell of a rumor.
It's brilliant.
They even sat down and like even Marilyn Manson said, "That's not me."
The names are completely different. He's Brian Warner, and the other kid's someone else.
Yeah, I just thought that was brilliant.
I thought it was absolutely great. Marilyn Manson was considered again. Jeffrey is just the boy. It took me a while, I'm not going to lie, to be able to see him.
Yeah,
which was probably a good sign more than anything. But did you notice who Twisted Nursey was?
There's a lot going on, but
I need to get this one out now because I'm bursting. I am bursting. Because the minute I saw her face, I knew exactly who she was.
Yeah,
you got Goza in there. You have the original Goza. Savitia Jovan is. She is the twisted fucking nurse, and her face is goddamn fucking beautiful.
There is this whole thing with this movie where when this movie is totally different how it starts. This explains how Stephen Price, who is the Frederick Lauren character, which is Jeffrey Rush, it sets up how he's made his money. So you don't get introduced to anybody else but an interview that's going on with
where at
an amusement park, which turns out it is Florida's Islands of Adventure.
Yeah, it's Universal Studios. That's the Hulk.
And it's the Hulk ride. But the thing that they do with this is absolutely, whoever the casting person was on this really thought this through, because this scene picked two people that were incredibly famous at the time to be in that lift with Jeffrey Rush. Now, I would say to some degree, James Masters was more well known than Jeffrey Rush at that point. James
Most
Masters
likely
was Spike from Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
He was, when I was growing up, anybody that was into Buffy at any point, you know who Spike is.
Mm-hmm.
He was. This was the role where you saw him as the cameraman, and you thought, okay, is he actually American? Is he English? Is he just got a really bad English accent? Because obviously Spike is supposed to be English. And you have, as a TV reporter, you have Lisa Loeb. Now, Lisa Loeb, for those of you that might not know or are incredibly young, wrote a song called Stay, I Miss You, which came out in 1994. And any pining teenager knew every lyric of that song. And I can assure you, I'm one of those people. I was 14 when this song came out. And it's like, thought I lived forever, but now I'm not so sure. You're trying to tell me that you're clever. I know those. I still know all the words, right? It's shocking. It is shocking how much I know. But the thing about Lisa Loeb was she was the first person to ever chart at #1 without having a record deal for that song. Ethan Hawke was her best friend, and he discovered her and directed her whole video for her free of charge. as
I
well.
love that, man.
But she got to number 1 on the US Billboard charts for that song for being unsigned. She was only knocked off that perch 19 years later by Macklemore with Thrift Shop.
Jesus.
That one completely like blew me away. I was like, okay, that's something. That means,
Weird.
oh God.
But yeah, you are right. There's like 2 major like pop culture.
Yeah.
For the time.
Yeah.
Like now you probably wouldn't bat an eyelid if you saw like James Marsden, like, but at the time he was like fucking huge. So, and you're right, Jeffrey Rush, we know him.
Yeah, Barbossa. Everybody knows Captain Barbossa, but you didn't then, you know. There is another Buffy link, but it was only it was a section that got edited out, and I think it's in the Blu-ray DVD extras. So the people that know Buffy will know this. You won't, because you're not really a Buffy guy. But Mark Blucas, who played Riley, Finn, which was Buffy's love interest in season 4 and 5.
I do know who that is.
Yeah, Mark Blucas. He filmed a part in this movie as well, where it was a movie within a movie that was shown in like a TV at some point in the house, but it got cut because they said it didn't really. It wasn't exposition. It didn't have any exposition. It seemed very strange to have it there. It didn't really make.
It kind of doesn't feel like it would fit.
Yeah, basically. So they cut it. But Mark Blucas is in there too. So you've got another guy from Buffy who was really big at the time. So the casting guy knew what they were doing. You had Ali Larter, who was coming off the back of Final Destination. Peter Gallagher,
Scream Queen. Queen.
Yeah, Peter Gallagher, who was like never been While You Were Sleeping.
Is he from One Tree Hill? Is he Sandy?
Eyebrows, yeah.
Sandy.
Peter Gallagher was the guy that got knocked on the train that Sandra Bullock imagined she had a life with, but ended up falling in love with his brother, Bill Pullman. But Peter Gallagher's done loads of stuff, soaps, movies, you name it. Taye Diggs, every movie pretty much.
Big name in the 90s. Big name.
And he did Private Practice, which was a spin-off of Grey's. And he
did it, Sam. So, oh my God, yeah. I've been doing my head in all day.
As soon as I saw him, because I've seen this movie 1,000 times, but I never. Obviously, I'm in the middle of Grey's, and it's like I saw him in Grey's, and I was like, I know him from something. And then I watched this, and I was like, no, is it IMDb? It bloody well is, yeah.
It's
so,
him.
And then you've got like the girl who plays the reporter. Her name's just completely left me.
She's in Parent Trap. She's one of those actresses who's like, she's just there everywhere. Isn't the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka, the Tim Burton one? She's in that. She's in all sorts. I can't think of what her name is.
And then also you've got the girl who plays Evelyn, which is, now I never say her name right, so forgive me, but I want to say it's Famke Jensen. Yeah.
Jensen?
I can never get it right. For me, it just doesn't roll off my tongue naturally.
Jean Grey.
Yeah, Jean Grey. So that is what I shall refer to her as.
Jean Grey.
The principle of this film is exactly the same, in the respect of that he hates her, and like I said, the setup at the beginning of the movie is they're in this ride at his theme park that he owns and he made, and he makes it out like it's a lift that's doing like the terror.
It kind of combines 2 rides, the Tower of Terror, mixed with a roller coaster. But before you've got all of that, before you introduce to Stephen Price, you're actually introduced to the Doctor.
Yes.
In the asylum, and it sets it. This is the bit. So I love the 59 one, probably for the simplistic storytelling of it.
I thought this bit was after, but it's not. It is before.
It's before.
Right. Yeah.
I watched it today. I love the simplisticness of the 1959 one, and that's probably why I love old movies. It's just simple storytelling, easy watching, and obviously Vincent Price is in it. This one, the upper hand that this one has is the detail that you get from. You can't just put people in an asylum and go, you're in an asylum.
Yeah.
We need to know what the threat is when it comes to this asylum, and why fucking Watson Pritchard is shitting his pants every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And you get it in the first act with the opening scene, I should say, where basically fucked up things going on. And the what's the word I'm looking for? The patients
Yeah.
claim the nut house. Or the asylum. Should have called it the asylum.
Well, what I remember is you see this guy doing some patient records, and then you see a surgery taking place, and then
he's still awake.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. You start to feel like there's something like not quite right about this, and then you start to see the patients wandering around and like looking in windows and getting close to things, and then you see that he's actually not doing an operation, he's experimenting on the patients, and one of the nurses is filming the whole thing, so
I was thinking that's some fucked up snuff film right there.
Yeah, we're going to level up there, and then obviously the patients take over the asylum, and there's a huge murder, and then they have this salacious bit at the beginning with all the newspaper, one of those voices that does the news, today at the murder at the asylum, you get that like, kind of whole voiceover.
Do you know what it is? It's mysterious. No. Oh God, what's it called? Netflix did a remake of it. It's fuck me, I mean, I love it. Mysteries. Oh, it's one of them kind of programs.
Like Mysteries Unsolved. Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries. That's it. That's the one. It's like that. It's all about true crime. He was worse than Bundy.
Yeah, because it flips over to Evelyn in the bath then, and you see Jean Grey in the bath, and you see Untold Mysteries on the TV, which is what that guy was from. And he's next to Skeleton, so he gets another role, Skeleton, because he's in that bit. And he starts talking about the whole thing that happened at the asylum, the murders, the fire that happened, the patients escaping, blah, 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 blah. So Jean Grey's in the bath and she goes, oh, yeah, rings her husband. That's where I want my birthday party.
Because that's fucking normal. That's just, I mean, honestly, for me and you, that might be normal. But for her, she didn't seem like the type who would want to go and rave it up in an asylum.
The whole of it was very strange choice. But then again, that was the choice of Annabelle in the first movie as well. So to hold it there. So
yeah,
their reasonings are to set up this cascade of events that they need to happen for the end goal, which is their husband dies, therefore their prenup is void and they get all the money. Because this is what this is all about. It's about two gold digging women in the first one and then the second one. It
is. They just want the money. So Jeffrey Rush is called Stephen Price.
Correct.
In this one. Now, it is a homage to Vincent Price.
Correct.
But the look is... So everyone has the conception that he is doing a Vincent Price character. He's actually not.
Nope.
He's doing John Waters, which if you look at them... But it was a natural progression, the way that Jeffrey had mapped out Stephen, that it did end up coming across more Price than it did Waters, and the director went, I actually really like it. Because John Waters, this is one of John Waters' favorite films of all time. He absolutely loves it, and Jeffrey Rush wanted to base his whole character around it. The mustache is his, not Vincent's.
Yeah,
it's John's. Little pencil mustache. But it started. There was parts in it where I could see it when he was on the roller coaster, the John side of it, especially when he leans in. Like John was very like
theatrical.
Yes, I'm talking about he's dead. John is not dead.
I used to be very, very obsessed with John Waters because he used to write articles in Bizarre magazine.
Yeah.
He used to like do some of the movie reviews for that. Hairspray was one of my favorite movies growing up, with Divine and like the Pink Flamingos.
Fuck that! No, I love them.
Movies were just insane, no. But like they came from this man's brain, and he was overly camp, but incredibly masculine at the same time. He had this balance that went on, John Waters, and he still does to this day. He can. There's some it because we've been jaded by the ability to be whoever you want to be these days.
Mm-hmm.
You're free to express your gender, your sexuality, your freedom in clothing, in identity, in any which way, shape, or form. But John seems to manage to keep this balance that you don't see that often anymore. And it's like this well put together, suited and booted man, immaculately groomed, beautiful hair.
But he smells beautiful.
Yeah, he does. He looks like he smells really nice. But when he opens his mouth, he's got like this
filth.
Yeah, he is vile, and he is exceptional, and everything about that, you can see that in what Jeffrey Rush was doing with Stephen Price. You can see it. He's well put together. He's even Evelyn alludes to it. She makes comments about him running away with these little boys. So
he's so the John and Stephen in themselves are so old Hollywood.
Yeah.
The Cary Grant is a perfect example. Cary Grant is it Cary Grant? Is it Cary Grant? I think it's Cary Grant. Who he's a very self-made person, and an image of what he wanted to put out there is the image of sophistication, of class. And it's very old Hollywood in the way that and John is just so old. But when he opens his mouth, Dirty Shame is one of my favorite movies. If you don't kink shame, it's the movie for you.
Yeah, if you're into something a bit different, but bear in mind the time period the film was made in.
Oh yeah.
We're not
go with an open mind.
When I'm talking about Hairspray, I'm talking about Ricky Lake. I am talking about that Hairspray, not this John Travolta nonsense that came out. I'm talking about the original spirit, the fatty 2x4 can't get through the living room door, which was what I was growing up with, and he celebrates large women. He celebrates trans community. He celebrates so many things in his movies that you don't realize John Waters was doing at the time, but with today's eyes looking back.
Hairspray is not just about it's not just about a girl, it's about segregation. The whole movie is about segregation.
And the ability of a larger woman to still win the heart of the jock guy that everybody doesn't think that's going to get it. And he does the same with Crybaby. John Waters just has this ability to find a misfit, but make them desirable, make them somebody you can identify with, which was never something that was done in cinema. You had to be the preppy girl or the preppy boy, or you had to have the specifics, and John turned that on his head. So that's why I have a lot of time for John Waters.
Oh, I love him. And do you know the girl from Crybaby's in jail for murder?
The
blonde hair one.
Yeah, there's a few girls in that movie that's blonde. But
not Tracy Lords,
no,
not Ratchet Face, because unfortunately she passed away.
It's the other one, isn't it? Yeah,
it's the actual main chick. The one Johnny Depp goes for. Yeah, she's in jail for murder.
It's insane to me, like Tracy Lords. I mean, I loved her in, was it Sleepwalkers, or she's in Blade. She's in quite a few of Stephen King movies as well.
Yeah, she is. She's also in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I fucking love that film. I love Tracy Lords.
That's a Kevin Smith movie, isn't it?
Yeah. Since I saw it in probably Crybaby. I was like, that's just the look. I love the look. The look is just sort of thing. I love it. Did John do Serial Mom?
No, I don't think he did. I love Serial Mom. It's one of my favorite. That was one of my gateways into horror.
It was one of those movies where I had to hide watching it. My mum and but my mum and dad is not. They're not like pure they weren't like, they were strict in some ways but not in others. But this one, for some reason, I've wrote serial killers, not Serial Mom, and for some reason this one was a no go, big no go. It is John Waters.
Was it really? I thought,
Yeah, it is.
that explains
And
a lot.
Tracy Lord's in it. That's
And Ricky
right.
Lake, and obviously Matt Lillard.
Yes.
And
Sam
Kathleen
Waterston,
Turner.
Kathleen
Yeah.
Turner. I love that movie.
We actually sell a T-shirt on our site, a Serial Mum one that's got Pussy Willows written on the front of it. So I highly suggest going over to my site, bleedingmarvelous.com, have a look down, find the T-shirt, and it's got Kathleen Turner on the front of it.
I'm in Pussy Willows. It's a Fabergé egg. It's when I learned what a Fabergé egg was.
She's hiding in the cupboard with the scissors.
I love it. I do love that. But yeah, going back to Jeffrey Rush's choices. Going back to Jeffrey Rush's choices, it is a misconception that it's Vincent Price. The name obviously doesn't help. The old Hollywood look doesn't help, but it is John Waters. He is very much taken inspiration from.
There is a couple of things in this movie that are absolutely batshit insane when you start looking into them. The premise of the movie is, anyway, all these people get there the same way they get to the previous film. They get there in hearses or black cars. They drive up to the front. They're taken in. Now, in this one, in the remake, they get put into lockdown. Now, the house is alive, in theory, with this one. Yeah. The ghosts have made the house alive. So it's the house that goes after the people, not necessarily Stephen and Evelyn. They've got their own agenda, but it's the house that's actually trying to kill off everybody so that no one makes it through the night. The whole time Pritchard is telling everybody he wants out, give me my money, and having an absolute meltdown and can't make it out the door.
Calm down, man. Jesus Christ.
But it sets up to the point where you know if he is that freaked out, there's something wrong.
The original Watson Pritchard tries to do the same thing, but it's not to the same effect because he just ends up again dwindling into the background. This guy goes for it, it's the impatientness, and I really hate when people do that, when they're like, come on, and then the other person's like, oh, what?
Well, he was winding him up on purpose, though. I don't know if you noticed, because he kept going to write the check and then doing something else.
Yeah, and then going back down.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell he was doing it on purpose to try and wind him up even more. But they get ushered into this beautiful entrance hall, and you've got a mucked up stained glass window above the top of where the big table is, and to one side you've got like this fireplace area with a bar and all that, and it looks very well decked out for something that's supposed to be abandoned. So I can only presume that obviously Jeffrey Rush's company have gone in and done some tarting up in this area.
He's given millions out to people. He would have gone in and spruced it up a bit.
Yeah, so he's offered each person $1 million to be able to stay the night. But if they don't make it, it then goes to the remaining people, and whoever makes it at the end of the night is the one that walks away with all the money.
But he made the point of going, somebody can walk out of here with $5 million, and it's like, oh, so you want a massacre on your hands? That's what you want. And
then that's when they introduce. Well, it's just after Famke Jensen comes down the stairs, and
looking beautiful.
Yeah, she's giving it the whole, oh God, who are these people? What is this? Why am I here? This isn't what I wanted. You've ruined my birthday, Stephen. You're an arsehole. Comes down the stairs, and then I think something happens. They start shouting, and all the energy gets kind of like starts to get a bit like this. And then the ceiling with the stained glass shatters. Now, she had to actually have her face that close to that piece of glass. They built a rig. Basically, the ceiling, the glass ceiling was made out of perspex, and they could only do this twice because they could only paint 2 of these stained glass window sections. And they had 5 cameras placed around this scene, and they filmed it twice. So they only had 10 pieces of footage for this entire bit. But they made a rig where they had to mark her face out and have her put her face specifically where it was for that big shard of glass to impale through the table. Now you see her bounce, her head bounces off the table because the force of that bit of perspex going into the table literally makes her head jump off the table and hit it. So she did that all by herself, that stunt, because they wanted to get that close up that they needed.
And they say Jean Grey is a difficult actress. Like, that's not been difficult. That's been incredibly patient and willing to do anything for a movie. That doesn't come across as difficult in the slightest.
Yeah, so then for some reason they decide to go for an explore.
Why not?
Now,
Why
I'm
not?
going to do something. No. I would have taken one look down those stairs and gone, I'm all right. I'm going back to that room with the fire in it. Thank you, goodbye.
Yeah, I am literally picking a corner, sitting in it. I'll see you in the morning.
Yeah, I'm not leaving here. Thank you, goodbye.
No.
They
I'm
go
not interested.
downstairs into the basement area. Now, as they're descending these rickety-ass stairs that's covered in cobwebs, because, you know, why not?
Old house.
You see these massive glass cabinets with what only looks like is, if anybody has been to that, there was an exhibition that was going around the world of the guy who dissects people, and he shows people skinless doing everyday things. They were based off of that.
That sounds amazing.
Honestly, it was insane. It was at Vegas, but we missed it. And I regret not going. But it comes around. It just keeps traveling the world. This exhibition.
There's some things that like last week's episode. Like I could barely get through that episode when we were talking about body horror. I was watching. I jumped in it because I've been recording a lot recently. So Monday night, I'm like, I'm doing nothing. But I did jump in at the end. I was watching movies. I said I was getting prepared for Tuesday's recording, and I jumped in at the end and I was like, I am not in this at all. Like, you are literally carrying that episode, because I just don't do body horror. But the idea of seeing it's for medical things, that changes something in my brain, and it's like, that's okay.
That's the thing. This is all science-based, this exposition. I
can't say it either.
There we go. Got there in the end. This exhibition is purely for it shows you like how the body would work in certain situations. There's everything from a couple having sex that have completely been dissected and skinned, but it makes sense when you see it. It's not something that you go,
no,
I wouldn't even go there to start off.
Well, if it's medical, because Victorian. Have you ever seen Victorian medical journals?
Yeah, I've got loads of them on my walls.
Fucking love them, and they are some of the most gruesome shit you've ever seen. Like, there's one, I always remember one where there's a man's arm out and another man here, and the wrist's being cut, and he's literally pulling the nerves up, and it's to show you all the nerves that actually sit in your arm and where they'd be placed. And I'm like, fuck yeah, that looks good.
But as you walk down the stairs, you see these like muscles and skinned man riding a horse, man on his own, a baby, there's something else, and they're all in these cabinets. And it turns out they're all sculpted by a woman who I didn't get a name, but she sculpted them all in foam. That's all foam.
Whoa! And
she sat there and she sculpted every one of those to the anatomy. They were from like bricks of foam, and she whittled them down into these.
I love that word, whittle.
But they look amazing. They look real. I don't know whether it was just the way it was shot or whatever, but you do see them time and time again. So it's not like a quick glance and they're gone. They become quite a big staple in a couple of the scenes because they feature so heavily. But yeah, they were all made out of foam, which I thought was absolutely fantastic.
Love that.
So they go through this bit, they start wandering around, they find these rooms, they have a like proper search, they find the room with the saturation chamber in it, that looks like a big diving bell. They go into another room and they see Vannicott's office, and they're looking around, and you've got the nosy reporter lady with her camera filming absolutely everything.
Her big ass giant camcorder.
That had a VHS in it. That had a VHS. That's why it's so big. I was like,
that's how old it is, people.
But yeah, she's walking around trying to film this whole thing because she still wants to be relevant. And it turns out that she's the first one to get taken by the house. Now, you don't see it happen. You hear it,
just
but
a
you don't
puddle,
see
isn't it?
And then this is where things start to get a bit weird. When they find the VHS camcorder thing, it's in a mess on the floor and there is blood everywhere.
Blood. So, it's a lot of blood in this scene.
Like, what's happened here? Because she starts to see something through the viewfinder when she walks in, because she's got a big viewfinder on her camera.
Because why wouldn't you use your eyes?
Yeah, so she looks up, nobody there. She looks through the viewfinder and you see Jeffrey Combs operating on a woman on a table or a man on the table, and the nurse Ratchet next to him.
Nurse Ratchet.
Nurse Gozer, Gozerian. And you see them commit, like they're doing their experiments, and then you see him look up at her. But that's where it stops, because you just see her look really shocked after that. So it's like, okay. Then you see this blood path and it goes into the wall and it stops. And you're just like, well, how the fuck did that happen? That's grim. And anyway, it turns out there's a series of events where one by one, you get to the point where you hear Evelyn scream and then no one can find Evelyn. Stephen's running around because he actually does really care for Evelyn. You can tell that this is all just a game to him, but deep down he really does love her.
Yeah, he's the thing is with Stephen's character is he essentially is William Castle.
Yeah,
he's the king of gimmicks. He's there for the thrill. He's there for the scare, but he didn't mean any harm by it. He's not out to hurt someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like how I feel Vincent Price would have been in the other one.
Yeah. His end game was to bump her off so that he didn't have to worry about her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But Stephen genuinely could tell in that moment, Stephen really loved her when she was screaming. So you see her, she's on an operating table being electrocuted by something that's put her there. And this is happening. And she's dead, apparently. The doctor declares her dead. And I'm like, okay, you're a doctor. Right, where are we going?
Are you a hysteria doctor?
And you start to see then that Stephen really was upset that she'd gone, and they go off, and you just see this pair of feet walking in the room a bit later, and you're like, okay. And he does this gross thing where he kisses her where she's unconscious.
Ugh.
Doctor. That gave me a kick massively. And then he brings her back. So basically he dropped her heart rate and brought her back, so she was never dead. They just wanted him to think she was dead, so that everybody would blame him and say that he killed her, and then obviously someone would eventually try and kill him. But she's not a fan of that, so she decides that someone really has to be sacrificed to the house.
Why not?
So she decides to stab her boyfriend that she set this whole thing up with.
Why not?
With a handy old rusty scalpel that was literally just on the side. I was like,
get in. What a job. If you know there's something going on in this house, you've had evidence of it.
Yeah.
I'd do it.
Yeah, it's
I'd
so
kill him.
weird. It is so weird.
Scalpel.
He then gets knocked off. He's the next one to go. Then it's just a cascade of events where get out of the fucking basement, you bunch of plonkers. Stop in there. Go back upstairs. Stay up there. Because I know that at some point Pritchard dies, doesn't he? He gets he just gets pulled away. I can't remember seeing his death.
No, there's a lot of smoke and darkness, and I can't believe that this is actually something that is going to be able to weave its way into another one of our episodes. But the darkness is actually tentacular morphine mass of ghosts.
Yes.
And the design is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft.
Yes, it is. And
the Rorschach.
The Rorschach.
Yes.
Now, not only that, did you know that the darkness, which is technically the entity that is the house, the darkness was made out of naked and clothed women that were transposed over and over and over again to make this pattern.
Morpholine of...
Yeah, at which they then flipped to be able to split and flipped, which made the Rorschach so it was absolutely identical.
And who is the makeup artist on this film?
Robert Kurtzman.
And
my friend Robert Kurtzman.
And Greg Nicotero.
Oh, was Greg on this one? Oh, yeah.
Greg was on this one.
I don't think Robert had left the company at that point, to be fair. I think he was still in that company, but Robert had the lead on this one because he also then had the lead for House on Haunting Hill. That one, the other one, the Mike Flanagan.
Haunting of Hill House.
That's the one. The Mike Flanagan one he did, and he did this one as well for special effects. So
special effects is him. Makeup is Greg. I think Greg does Twisted Nurse, that beautiful grey and red lipstick look. Oh, I do like it. There's something so Dawn of the Dead about that makeup that I actually really like.
But did you know that Warner Brothers loved this film so much that in Australia, in the Warner Brothers theme park, they made an attraction based on this movie. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Didn't last for long, but it was there. It was a thing, which was crazy for back in those times. So it was one of those things where everybody was like, "Oh, why is it in Australia? Why can't we have it here?" And it was like, well, they didn't think the film did so well over here. So
I remember when this came out, and like I said, it is a movie of its time. Like there is a place for it, and even if yes, the CGI, I'm not gonna lie, can be a little bit difficult, but the backstory in this is much more detailed.
Yeah,
and the actual story itself, what's playing out, it makes, to a certain degree, it makes more sense. Like I say, the original is just, it's simple.
Yeah,
this is elaborate, and it works in its favor that it is. You couldn't take the 59 one, fresh it up with a fresh cast and just do it again.
Yeah,
it doesn't have the same campiness, the same sparkle. It loses it with the 1999 one, especially for, trying to think what was out around that time. What's where are we at?
90, should we say? Scream was 94, 96. Sorry, Scream was 96.
Gosh, so we're going into the Faculty, and
this is Famke's like whole early acting career. You've got the Faculty. You've got I Know What You Did Last Summer. You've got there's a succession of horror movies.
Oh my God, urban legends.
They were all coming out in this era of the 90s, so it fit really, really well within that kind of era. But they did so many things. When they did the saturation tank scene where Jeffrey Rush is inside and the pictures are spinning, and you've got Jeffrey Rush, Jeffrey Combs as the Doctor, who, if you watch those little penny things when you were a kid of something spinning, and they actually see the horse running. It used to be a horse, didn't it? And you used to press the thing, and if you got it fast enough, you'd see the horse.
Yeah, we're old enough to know what they are.
This was the same principle, but you're in a tank, and you basically see the Doctor bouncing a ball, but then you see his facial expressions change, and he becomes smilier. And they said they put a filter on him called the Van Gogh filter, which is something you can find for photos, but when applied to a movie cell, it brings on another kind of element to how strange he looked and how weird it was, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's so clever.
And they actually built one of those things from scratch. The whole thing is actually real. The tank, I think it's called a Zillotrope. That's the name of the whole thing.
The only thing I can think of, you know what comes to my head straight away is, and it's probably more recent, is The Conjuring 2 with the big tall man and the spinning that thing round, and it's to help the boy talk, and you can see him kind of moving as it's going. That it instantly comes to my head.
Yeah. But there is another fact that links us back to one of our other episodes. There's a scene where Jeffrey Rush is covered in a wet towel or a bit of plastic, and then wires wrapped around his head. It's when they've got him. The doctors and the nurses have sort of got him, and the patients.
Yeah.
They throw him into a water tank, and he's trying to get out.
Yeah.
That was supervised by a certain person called Rico Browning Jr.
Oh, fuck off. No
that whole
way.
Scene was plotted and supervised and planned by Rico Browning Jr. So
I'm speechless.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, you should know, be ashamed of yourselves. Rico Browning Jr. is the son of Rico Browning, who played the creature from the Lagoon.
Oh my God, it makes so much sense.
So that
is amazing.
And they took heavy inspiration from the nurse that played the weird worm, had the worm face nurse that was in the water. They reused that for the ballerina in Cabin in the Woods.
Oh,
so it's heavily inspired a lot of films, but also there is an Easter egg. There's a bit where Steven starts talking to the guy in front of the cameras that he thinks he's setting up this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
He has this guy from the theme park come and help him all these little things that he wants to happen. And you see Freddie's glove just hanging off, like in the distance in the background, just hanging off a peg, because it's the boiler room he's in the asylum.
As you do.
Yeah, but that kill was a bit messed up when you see the guy from the park. He's got absolutely no face left. It is literally just a concave space, no brain, no insides. It is just a part of the skull still attached to the head.
You mentioned something like that, and my whole body just goes, oh. But you talk about a medical like skinning of people, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
I mean, the thing is as well, you realise that it's all been a big setup, because she thinks, because basically the doctor locks Jeffrey Rush into this Zillotrope thing to try and send him nuts, and then they all think he's dead, and he's not dead, and then he asks Ali Lata from Final Destination for help. She then shoots him, but he knows what he's doing because he's got a bulletproof jacket on. So when you see Evelyn come up, as far as he knows, Evelyn's dead, but at this point Evelyn comes up to him and she starts saying, oh, I love your money, I hated you, fuck you, basically. And then that's when he all of a sudden he wakes up and he's like, haha, no, fuck you, I have a jacket.
I've got the upper hand, bitch.
Yeah. So then she gets swallowed by the darkness. I feel so emo, doesn't it? The darkness.
Well, it was heading, we were going into that direction. It was only a few years off.
But yeah, she gets swallowed by it, he gets swallowed by it. The only two left standing at the end is Taye Diggs and Ali Lata. And then you have the good ghost from SNL, Mr. Pritchard, allows them to be able to get out whilst Jeffrey Combs and the darkness is trying to keep them in. They get out. They have $5 million between the two of them, but they're stuck on a ledge and no one ever knows they're there. So, you know, from the point of view of how are you going to spend your money when you're starving to death up there? So nice, you know.
Yeah, $5 million, you just eat the paper.
I think that's all it's
going to end up eating the paper. So you watched these back to back, yeah?
Yeah.
You watched the original and then you watched the 99 one.
Yeah.
Did you feel? I know the title's the same, premise is very similar, but did you feel you were watching a movie that I don't know what I'm asking. I do know what I'm asking. Did you feel that I do know what I'm asking. I really do. Did you feel that the 1999 one was a homage, or was it just simply the same movie, just a little bit tweaked? Or did you just feel like they took elements from it?
I feel like it was same in name and two lead characters only.
Yeah.
For me, House on Haunted Hill, The Asylum, get that. Perfectly makes sense. And the two main characters hate each other, want to kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The rest of it.
Did you feel there were a disconnect?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely nothing like the original in that respect. They kept the premise of the couple and the idea of a house. The rest of it was like it was written by two different people, which it was, because the William Castle obviously did the original, which is the premise of the two people trying to kill each other and that side of it. But then our guys, the William, I can't remember his surname. His name was William as well. The director that came in and did it. I
didn't write his name down.
Yeah, he helped write and produce this. So he wrote a horror movie, and then slammed the two together and went, right, we'll make this fit. That's what it felt like.
But it did fit. It actually did. Yeah. Honestly, the 1989 one does get a lot of shit, and it's probably because of the look of it. But when you get into the actual story, it's a fucking good story. It's there's a lot of tip of the hat moments.
Yeah.
The concept of the two main characters hating each other, the couple hating each other, the party taking place is the same thing.
Yeah.
The ideas of the couples trying to kill each other off by using these party guests as a way of doing it.
Yeah.
But there's more. There's so much more detail. The movie is called House on Haunted Hill. In the first one, the house is nothing. It's a secondary game player. It's just somewhere for them to be. And even the ghosts don't even give that much of an impression of, because it's one person seeing it who is being called hysterical throughout the whole fucking thing. In the 1999 one, the house is its own character with its own backstory. It's people that's in there, and it's not just affecting one person. Everyone is fair play.
Yeah.
So there's so much more in this one than the original is a fucking classic, and there's a reason it's a classic for. But this one is, when it comes down to remakes, redos, whatever you want to call it, it stands up against the original for so many reasons.
But for totally different reasons.
Yes.
And that's fine. You know, I think this is an example of when you do a remake, but you respect the original source material and you cherry pick what you think would work within a horror movie you want to make. And it's... In one way, they rode the coattails of the original through name and
the best way. Well, the best way I can describe it is there's a lot of tip in the hat moments.
Yeah. I mean, in the 99 one, it turned out that everybody that was invited was actually related in some way
to the house.
The house, so they were either nurses or doctors or patients or something. There was something where they were all related, but it turned out that Ali Lata had lied. So the person that won the invitation had gone out to wasn't her, and that Tay Diggs was also adopted. So
that line did set my teeth on edge a little bit. I'm adopted.
That was unnecessary. They could have said that way before. It didn't need to be one of the closing lines in the crescendo of everything happening. I thought that was a poor choice.
It was an easy way out. Why didn't you just make it? Why didn't you say nothing and nothing happened? And it's like, how do we explain this? And how did this happen? Maybe because I'm adopted.
There was other ways around it, and I feel like if you went back with that might have got changed. But yeah, I mean, I love the 99 version for the reasons that it is so dark and grimy, and they're just, everything about what they're doing is wrong. Jeffrey Combs will always give off crazy. Jeffrey Rush will always give you a Shakespearean performance, regardless of whether it's bloody Barbossa or it's John Waters as Vincent Price as Jeffrey Rush.
Do you know what? He so stands up with Vincent. It's uncanny. Like to say that Jeffrey Rush and Vincent in the same breath is like they are two. Actually, they're very much the same actor. The thing about it,
they're comedy actors.
They're both from the stage. Vincent was a stage actor before he was an actual film star. Never actually wanted to get into film ever. Just wanted to do theatre for the rest of his life. But when the theatre time was over, because they always used to take a break in the summer because they didn't have air conditioning, so they would take a break in the summer, and he was like, "Wow, I need to keep myself entertained." And the movies came a calling, and this one came a calling, and then the next one came a calling, and then he became a movie actor. But Jeffrey Rush is the same, but they are so similar but so separate but so brilliant, and just I don't know how to describe it, because I don't see Jeffrey Rush doing an impression of Vincent Price.
No, never. Because I think if it wasn't for that bit at the beginning where they show you him being the master of theatre, the master of this, that, and the other, the showman, the
The scaremonger.
Yeah, it's all about the theatre. That is where you get your, okay, that's what he's about.
Mm-hmm.
So you know he's not Frederick Lauren. Frederick Lauren's mission was to bump his wife off, regardless of how it happened. That was the end game. Whereas this guy, he's about the theatrics. He's about the sit back and watch everything happen and play out and just see what happens. You know, it was never about murdering Evelyn, although for Evelyn it was about murdering him so that she could get her money and run away.
Everyone had a motive.
Yeah,
everyone had a reason to be there.
I will say though that I don't know if you know this, but the 1999 version had something that wasn't commonplace. It did start the original one of these was originally done in 1966, but it wasn't commonplace in movies like it is now. It had an end credit scene.
Turn it up.
Yeah, end credit scene. And the end credit scene in the 1999 one is that Geoffrey Rush, so Stephen Price and Evelyn Price, have taken the place of Dr. Vanica and the Twisted Nurse. They're on the table and they're being hacked open and by all their patients.
Did they really deserve that? Like, I know they're not the best people, but did they really deserve that one?
That's how it ends on the end credits.
That's pretty brutal. Sorry, Loki's just walked in the bedroom, as you may have seen, but when he turned his head, he's got a bloody hair bubble in his mouth. It just made us laugh. Sorry. Oh, a little shitbag. This is a bit brutal. Like, it seems a bit unfair. Like, did they really deserve that?
I would say no, she did. I don't know about him. Yeah, because she just was all round a terrible person. She wanted him dead for his money. She married him for his money. She killed the man that helped her pull the plan off. She then...
Oh, to keep all the money, yeah. Actually, yeah, she's a bit of a terrible person.
She was a horrible person to start out with. So, yeah, I'd say she falls into that category of gross. Yeah. Him, I don't think so, because he at one point tried to help. He even tried to help them, but then he saved himself at the last minute. So, I mean, I don't think he deserved it.
He's not the best person, but he's not obviously the worst when you look at his wife. So maybe she should be getting more stabby / than he does.
But yeah, and then you got the patients were filming it, and that was the bit. The patients were filming the whole thing.
Oh, when that came up, I was like, "What a fucking snuff movie!" Like, come on.
But yeah, it genuinely. I enjoyed both movies, but for two totally different reasons. So
yeah, absolutely. The 59 one's always going to be quite special to us because it's just I can't say it enough. I love old movies. I love movies that even with the most simplistic of storytelling still can be some of the great. Do you know what it always reminds us of? It's Arsenic and Old Lace.
Yeah.
And it's just because Arsenic and Old Lace is one of the first black and white movies I ever saw, and it has like that hint of like color in it, and then this is probably one of the ones after it. And I love it. I love the aesthetic of it. I love the acting in it. I love they're either hamming it up, camping it up, or they're playing it dead straight, and it's trying to work out which one while you're watching it.
If my last opinion on the first one is genuinely that I feel like they treated it like a play. They acted it like a play.
Yeah.
It felt very much like a play, not like a movie.
I get that.
Exit stage left, exit door right. Walk through.
Do you know you are right? The way the sets are, it's either it's left or right.
Yeah.
Or forward. It's never. Yeah, and sorry, audio listeners, you can't see my hand motions like I am air traffic controller here, but
yeah, for me, that's my opinion on the first.
Yeah, I get that.
Very much like stage actors acting out a play instead of movie stars
being movie stars. Yeah,
but not that there's anything wrong with it. It worked for the movie.
That's probably why Arsenic and No Lace comes to mind for, because that is very similar, because that's based on a play too. So it's like, oh yeah, okay. So honestly, it is the first. Anytime I think of this film, I always think, I really want to watch Arsenic and No Lace straight afterwards. Oh, I am old. Not that old though. Not that old that I was around when that came out. I have no more. Apart from I watched the 99 one. I did watch it, even though if you watch back this episode, it probably sounds like I didn't. I did watch it. I just didn't know how to feel on it. I was trying to pick up so much of it because it's been such a long time that I was looking for the wrong things. I was researching while I was watching it, and I was like, shit, I should have just left it, because every time I see something, I could not for the life of us pick up where Jeffrey Combs was. Originally.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, because I started watching it in Spanish.
That was it. Yeah, you did send me that to say, I don't know what's happening here. I need to find what's going on.
And the worst part about it is, for the first bit, when they're in the asylum, nobody talks.
No.
It's not until the newscaster or whoever comes on and goes, murder in there. It's like, oh my God, what is that? That's not English. So I sat and watched the whole asylum bit, and it was a Spanish version. So it actually took me a while to find the English version. My last resort was I was just going to go and buy it on Amazon and stop being a big baby, or rent it. I could have just signed into my dad's and used it. That's what I did for the Neil Marshall films. Yeah, but I have no more to say, no more to do. Do you?
No, I'd say for me, the second movie has its place in cinema horror history, regardless of whether you like it or not. I think it's a winner for me because Jeffrey Rush stole the show wholeheartedly. And I feel like you get what you pay for blood for your buck.
Yeah.
Horror. Straight up 90s horror. That is what you get. So,
it is. It is such it has its place in horror history. And you are right, Jeffrey Rush does steal the show, but not trying to be Vincent Price.
No, and he doesn't steal it with intention of stealing it. He steals it because he's good at the part, not because it's like, I'm here.
I'm grand. Yeah. Yes.
So that's my opinion on that. I liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot. Well, that's House on Haunted Hill. I've thoroughly enjoyed looking over some of that. Do you know what really got us? And I probably spent more time on this person than I did the whole thing, was William Castle. I was like, this guy is fucking nuts. But I like it. But I like it. Next week, we're heading into tight jean territory.
and old leather, yeah.
And we're not just talking about James Wood's face.
Oh, God. This is going to be painful for me because I find the man hard to look at, but I'll power through for you guys. I can do this.
We're doing John Carpenter's Vampires.
You haven't done a John Carpenter in a while. I think the last one was The Thing with Mike.
We've done Michael Myers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we didn't.
I skipped past that because it's not all just John, is it?
No, it's not. It's the all-encompassing Michael Myers. Yeah. So like, just singular movie was The Thing. Yeah, bloody hell! It's taken us that long to get back to John Carpenter, and it's one of the greatest vampire movies of all time. I am not a vampire fan. I do love myself a bit of Interview with the Vampire and Lost Boys, but when it comes down to the Draculas, I'm not a big fan. But this movie, this one, I fucking love it. And it's got no to do with James Wood's appearance in it.
It's got Bill Paxton in it.
No, it doesn't.
It does?
No, it doesn't.
Sure,
it's a bloody Baldwin.
Is it? God, it's been a while.
Is it Daniel Baldwin?
Stephen? Daniel.
No,
they
it's
look the
definitely
same.
not Stephen.
They two look the same to me. A backdraft. That one was Stephen, wasn't it? Or was that one Daniel?
They do look very similar. Why is my phone not working right now? Oh, I love the main guy.
Oh,
Cheryl Lee, Daniel Baldwin.
that's it. That Baldwin.
Baldwin.
Team America will always win out. Avec Baldwin. And that's not me. I'm doing an impression of a character. I'm not.
You don't have to explain it. We've just done South Park. It's fine. Yeah, it's got an absolutely banging casting. The film itself is great. I can't wait to dive into the backstory and the behind the scenes and everything, because it's a movie that I've seen a million times, but I dare say I've never been on the IMDb for it.
It's a thing. It's a thing. I'm sure it'll be a thing, and we are going to bring it to you with everything we've got, because this is going to be interesting. That's what I feel.
It's going to be funny. Do you know? Just going to be another sleepaway camp episode where I'm just laughing my ass off throughout the whole thing. Trying to convince people I really love this movie.
I'm getting weird little flashbacks of bits of it now, and I'm like,
oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah, we're doing that, are we? Okie dokie.
Vampire Hunter Gang, man, can't wait. Yeah. With leather jackets on in the middle of the desert.
Now. Yeah.
Why?
There's no reason. There's no reason for any of it. It's nonsense.
I get this out of the way with now, so I can act all professional and serious next week. Hey, gosh. Well, you can find us on YouTube every Monday at 8 o'clock. The audio for this episode and all other episodes associated with Nerdy Up North are available on a Tuesday. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss out on an episode. All of the details for Her Nerdy, Monsters, and Bleeding Marvelous are where, Dan? Right there.
Down below, somewhere. Possibly down there. Could be over there.
Do you know, when you think about it, they're there, but then a little bit further there.
Yeah.
Because it's got all the introductory stuff, and then they're just a bit further down. So just keep
going. I'm going to go like this now. I'm going to go like there.
There, that's it. Yep. Right down there. Hey, is that it? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, well then. If there's nothing else to say goodbye, Dan.
It's close to midnight. Something people. Bye.
Stay spooky, everyone. Bye.